What's up guys, welcome to Wasted Space, and we're back in Space Engineers. I've finally built something new to show you off. I'm sorry for the somewhat lack of content recently. I have been working on various projects and for whatever reason some of them haven't worked out like I'd like. And so I've kind of got to this point where I'm thinking, we are in a bit of a dead zone waiting for planets. The game itself is improving a lot, lots of performance improvements. And I found myself thinking, hey, I don't really have a fleet as such. I've got a bunch of cool weapons, I do concepts, I do stuff like that, but I don't really have a fighter or a selection of. I don't really have a bomber. I don't have any of this. So today we're going to kick off a kind of a new mini-series where, as we lead up to the point where all of this stuff is possible to have these big space battles, I'm going to be building myself up a fleet. And we're starting off with a couple of the fleet's fighters. So we've got a heavy fighter and kind of a strike fighter today, and they're both heavily influenced and inspired by one of my favourite games of all time, Freelancer. So what we have in front of me here is the Corsair Titan and the Corsair Legionnaire. Now, Corsairs were a faction in Freelancer that were very rogue. They were against the state, out on the arm of space, but because of that, they had some very well-equipped fighting craft. And what we have here is kind of their most tough one in the form of the Titan, and then their smallest, cheapest one in the form of the Legionnaire. And we're going to have a quick look at the Titan first, and the first thing you guys are going to notice is, yes, there's mods on it. I admit some of these weren't even necessary mods. I have to say, at this point, I'm starting to sort of struggle a bit for ideas and struggle a bit to make designs look really cool in vanilla Space Engineers. So here we've made use of the 3x1 armor ramps from Uncle Steve to get this sort of curved angle that just wouldn't be possible otherwise and wouldn't look right otherwise. The other thing I've done, obviously, is nicked some modular thrusters. These are incredibly cool. So these are going to be something I probably use quite a bit because I feel they're pretty balanced. They look awesome, but at the same time, the power requirements to run these are enormous. Hidden in the wings of this ship are 6 large reactors, which is, for a fighter, just a ridiculous amount of power needed, 88 megawatts or something like that. But it does mean that you get these very cool engines, and at the same time, they're not stupidly overpowered, because they are very powerful engines, but they have a very, very strict power requirement. And then we needed some weapons. Space Engineers weapons, as we know, are all a bit rubbish. So we've got some of Azimuth's stuff, and I believe the other one is some of the Oki weapons pack. But I will put a link to all the mods down in the description below, because as I don't normally use them, I'd be very interested to hear what you guys think of me trying out mods and how my first implementations of using mods has gone. I'm certainly quite pleased with the appearance of this ship. As you can see in the background, I think I've pretty much nailed the Corsair look. The Titan's pretty much spot on. The Legionnaire, perhaps a little bit less good, but not bad. The final thing to do, I suppose, is to go and give this a test flight and at the same time show off the thing that probably sold me and made me want to do mods in the first place, which is the immersion cockpit. I mean, it's just so damn cool having a cockpit that opens and closes. I don't know why that's so cool. I don't know why I find it so important, but that effect there, I find myself wanting to make psh noises every time it shuts to fill in the sound effects. But hey, performance characteristics-wise on the Titan, we have a ship that accelerates very quickly, as you can see. We have a ship that brakes very quickly, as you can see. We got the 8 large cannon turrets around the ship, which is going to turn this into very much a hit-and-run strike fighter. These are dive bomber-type vessels. So the idea would be you would get up to top speed, which you can get up to really easily, really quickly, come in with all guns blazing, do a lot of damage on the target, and then get out of range, turn around and come back and do it again, which you can do really quickly with how fast this can accelerate and decelerate. Now, I did get the chance to use this out in a bit of combat, as you can see in the background here, on the stream last night. So we did a bit of a fighter build challenge, got people to bring their fighters in, and we had a big old fight around an asteroid field. And so I can confirm that both this is pretty effective, aside from the obvious weakness of having a cockpit sticking out the front. But hey, there's got to be a bit of artistic liberty, especially when you're copying an existing design, like I am with the Corsair, trying to make something that's a proper tribute. But aside from that, pretty damn effective, and it's damn cool seeing that we're almost at the point where Space Engineers can kind of handle this stuff. So having shown you a bit of the Titan, which is the one I built first and probably the one I prefer, let's jump across quickly and have a look at the Legionnaire, and I'll talk just a little bit about some of the differences. Last thing I'll mention with this is both of these ships are completely survival ready. As you can probably guess by the fact that you've got conveyors everywhere, this is a very, very tightly packed chassis. There's oxygen, there's cargo, there is a huge amount of power and a huge amount of gyroscopes. So end result is a ship that functions very well, but do take into account this is an expensive vessel. It's all heavy armor and it is all full of components. So now we've got the Legionnaire, which was very much the cheap, light, high mass reproducible fighter of the Corsair fleet, which is all well and good, but I don't particularly want a cheap, not particularly good fighter in my fleet. So I've used its design, but taken some liberties with quite how it's been set up. So as you can see, once you've got a design ethos as a nation or a faction, I guess you stick with it because there's definite similarities between it and the full-blown Titan. But this one's got a few differences. So firstly, we lost a lot of the power, and as such, there's also a lot less engine power on this. It's not a lot slower, but it is slower. It's also lighter, which helps. And then, because the original was quite a light fighter and this needed a purpose, I thought I'd go with a very strike fighter type role. So this is something designed to target stations or ships larger than itself and take out specific things on those ships. So again, with a dive bomb approach, but in this case, as you can see, I've equipped it with a lot of cannon power. And all of this is designed to be focused on a single target as the fighter comes in, sort of strike fighter style. So again, performance-wise, it doesn't accelerate quite as well, and it has the same sort of slightly floaty turning, which I actually kind of like. You can see a little bit that the camera actually shows you a little bit how it's performing. You know, the ship's kind of lagging behind at times and drifting a little bit. And I can't help but feel that while this is probably not ideal, it does also make the thing perform, well, quite a lot like a fighter. It feels like it's straight out of a proper, straight out of a game like Freelancer, especially if you sit in the cockpit and try the same thing. It feels drifty, it feels like there's proper Newtonian motion going on, and the inertial dampers aren't strong enough to make it feel weird. But yes, with this ship, the idea is, as you can see, lots of cannon firepower, quite focused on a single location. So you'd come in on a large target and do as much damage as possible and then get out, using the fact that you can accelerate and decelerate really quickly to aid you in that process. So finally, I'd say hopefully you enjoyed this video, guys. If you did, please hit like, please hit subscribe. It does help me in the channel out. And if you've got any ideas or thoughts for things that I should have in my fleet, inspiration that I should draw from for certain designs, that sort of idea, then please do let me know. Hit me up in the comments down below and give me an idea of some of this cool stuff, because I'm sure you guys know a lot more than I do about sort of how many different ships are out there and how many different things I could be modeling this all on. And then finally, if you didn't like this video, for whatever reason, please hit me up with a comment, let me know why. So thanks a lot for watching, guys. I will catch you next time.